Hey guys, welcome to Coding After 30. I hope you guys doing awesome. Anyway, welcome. Before we get into it, we'll just chit chat a little bit, let the rest of you guys to jump on. But I hope you guys having a great day. Today we're gonna continue building our portfolio project that I'm gonna show you and discuss in a little bit. But first of all, let me know if you guys could hear me in the comments, in the video, I guess. Let me know if the sound is good, if the music's not too loud. Let me know, and most of all, let me know how you guys doing. And Tammy here already, number one first. Hello Paul, enjoy last night's discussion with John. Looking forward to exploring your previous live streams. We go back and watch the series from scratch. Cheers. Hey, awesome. Well, glad to have you stopping by here, so I probably keep myself a little bit more professional on John's stream, but these are kind of like, just having fun, talking about building stuff. But the point of why I started the stream is because there's many people I talk to, and I remember a while ago I did like a little poll, like how many of you guys actually have a completed project for your portfolio. And obviously the truth was shocking. Like not a lot of you guys actually finished your own personal projects to put in your portfolio. And by the way, that is completely normal. When I first started out, I also did not have any finished projects, and I had nothing to show for in my resume, or I guess my portfolio, because I never finished anything. I have, like, you look at my GitHub, I have so many projects that I started, and a majority of them I've never finished. But at the end of the day, if you're looking to get hired, it's very important that number one, you know how to do the work, and number two, you could show the work that you did and you could feel comfortable talking about it. And so that's the whole point for this live stream, not only for me to get better at live coding and be able to talk about what I'm actually doing, but more importantly to show you guys that if you commit to building something, even though you do a little bit at a time, and you commit to it over a period of time, you're gonna actually be able to finish the project. Like for instance, when we started the stream 2 months ago or so, I had nothing. I started literally from scratch, and now we at least have something that's taking shape. And the whole point is for me to document this journey of building something for my portfolio that I could use to get a job. Obviously, I'm already working, but this is something I wish I would have done much earlier. But let me just say hello to you beautiful people in the comments. Tammy says that the audio sounds good and like the background music. Yeah, we keep it chill here. We keep it chill. And then we have Andrew here. Bro, been on John's Node course today to work on CRUD. My brain is a mush. Yeah, I didn't actually start his Node course. I mean, it's on my list to do next. I've been too busy like at work, but I definitely want to work through that course as well, which is interesting because at work I'm using Strapi as a backend, but we need so much more complex logic that you literally have to write custom Node course. So that's pretty awesome. Horace, welcome, hello, and nice. Tammy and Andrew, they've seen each other, they know each other from previous streams on John's Coding Addict, I'm assuming, which is amazing. I still am in a dream of like, how did I get invited on Coding Addict's podcast to be, the second voice of the show, which is pretty awesome. I'm still like, excited about it. And there we go. Thanks. Have needed something like this. Haven't had anyone talk code with my sig other is not a coder. Yeah, so I'm also like, you guys will find out that I make a lot of mistakes. I mess stuff up all the time. I mispronounce stuff. I break stuff, but it's the way it is. Alejandro, what's up, my man? Good to see you. So basically, man, I'm glad to have you guys join. It's so exciting to have like people actually who are committed to coming in and putting in the work. And again, the point of this live stream is to give you guys encouragement, give you the support that you all should be building stuff and creating projects, because at the end of the day, when you get a job, literally people are gonna ask you to build stuff. You know what I mean? Like, and if you don't know how to do it, it's very hard. So I was stuck in tutorial hell forever, many years, and I was afraid to take the leap because I always felt like I'm not good enough to build something on my own. And then I just never took that next step. And for the longest time, I had a lot of unfinished projects, a lot of stuff that I couldn't even put in my portfolio because it was not done. And then one day I just said, you know what? Turned off all the tutorials and opened up VS Code and started coding on my own. And that has been the best thing I have done, like forcing yourself to get stuck and then try to figure out how to get unstuck. That's like practice in itself. And so that's the whole point of this live stream, to encourage you guys to work on your own projects and kind of also watch me work through my project. And I record all the struggles, all the mistakes, all the failures, so you guys could see that it's a normal part of development. Nobody just wakes up and writes perfect code. Even that guy, Uncle Bob, who wrote like an amazing book called Clean Code, he also just talks about write the code that works, and then you could go back and refactor it. But that's what we're going to be doing. And Andrew says, I feel that 100%. This community is amazing. You know why this community is amazing? Because you guys are amazing. And by the way, if you haven't smashed the like button, you could smash the like button. You know, that's why we're here, to smash the like button and do nothing else. But we're going to get into the code in a little bit, and love seeing the reality. Besides, I often learn more from hearing the debugging process than when things go smoothly. Lol, 100%. Yeah. And so I'm actually, by the way, let me plug myself, right? Plug my, like, you know, the few people are watching. I talked to John, and John's like, Paul, you're so good at teaching. At least that's what he thinks. Like, I'm still trying to figure that out. But he said, you should probably do some one-on-ones. And so what I'm doing, kind of doing a test run to see if my methodology of how to teach people coding is good. I think it's good, because this is what I basically like. I figured out how I wish I would have been taught coding when I was starting out. And I'm like, let me do that with other people. Like, I wish I had this type of process, but let me do this process with other people that I could help. And so let me just pull out this link, because for next month, it's a little bit less than a month, but I'm literally taking on free students for a half-hour one-on-one, not only for you guys to be my guinea pigs, but also basically you guys to be my guinea pigs. But I basically want to just test out my system, show you how I teach, and you know, if you like it, you like it. If you don't like it, you give me feedback. I think it'll be great. But let me share the link here in the chat. Or, by the way, you could also go to codingafter30.com, click the banner to schedule your lesson. But I'm going to kind of share the link here as well. So anybody interested on some one-on-ones, and we're literally going to focus on doing some HTML, CSS, basic JavaScript, but most important, like, part of this whole thing is for me to get you to job ready React developers as quickly as possible. And so if you want to test out and get a free lesson out of it, definitely follow the link and, you know, shoot me a note or schedule it in Calendly. It will be awesome. And coming back to the chat here, yeah, error messages are so cryptic. Would love to see a course series just on resolving common errors, but would be tough, of course, to even try to figure out how to do. Yeah, 100%. Like, sometimes I get errors and I really have no idea. And sometimes errors so cryptic, I don't even know what's broken. And like, I'm not the only one. I've seen senior developers run into the same problem, and then you just start scratching your head and slowly starting to figure out the steps and what to do. But for those of you who are joining us, let me kind of give you a quick overview. So when you're building a project, the biggest issue sometimes people run into, not even not knowing where to start, because that's very common, but it's also like thinking of an application and thinking of all these features that you could have and creating like what they call scope creep, where you add stuff, and all of a sudden your application is so overwhelming that you don't even want to work on it. And so the most important thing is, if you're going to build something, start small, because remember, you could always add new things to your applications. And so that's kind of what we did. I wanted to make this basic application, and I'll give you a quick overview for those of us who are joining. Let me share my screen here. And so I did this like quick and dirty mock-up. It's so fast that I literally did it before the first stream when I started. And so the basic idea for this application is, first I outline like the basic things it should do here, right? It's basically an application where people could share their portfolios, and the basic functionality I wanted people to have, at least like display their portfolio. You know, they should see their image. Oh, look at me moving everything off the screen. See their image avatar. They should be able to upvote a portfolio, like or dislike. There should be a login page because we want to handle some sort of authentication where people are able to log in in order to vote or comment. And basically the data types in our backend that we need to keep track of all of this. We obviously need users. So we have our users, and I kind of talked about what data we need. We need username, email, password, first name, last name. Then we also needed to have the portfolios. So I kind of thought about, okay, we're going to have portfolios. Portfolios need IDs. We also have to associate them to the user. So we have this author. I'll talk more about detail here as we go along through. We also need to keep track of likes, like people that like the comments or like the projects. And then we also have comments. And this is what we're going to work on. We're going to figure out if we could add a comment to a project. Lastly, we worked on actually displaying the comments. And I created this basic UI. You just see a bunch of cards of projects. You could upvote the project. If you're not logged in, it's going to ask you to log in. You could also see the detail page. If you're not logged in, it's going to take you to the login page. Very simple. So I created this like quick, easy mock-up for the login page. And then this is our detail page where you'll see the details for the projects and you see people who commented and left a comment. So let me show you. This is actually, by the way, if you go to community1project.com, this project is actually live, so you guys could check it out, you guys could see it, you could play with it. And so if you click details, it's going to take you to the detail page where you're able to see the live demo of the application that I added to my project. You could also see the code on GitHub, so it has the links to GitHub. You have the image and basic description. If you click back, it'll take you back. So super simple, right? If I want to like something, right, I need to log in, and we already hooked up the login. And if you guys have questions about anything, even like something that we did, and look, like if you've been on the stream at all, you know that I don't remember my passwords. Too much boxing in my olden days. I'm thinking it's this one. I could be wrong. Yes, it's that password. So once you logged in, it'll show you the projects you liked. When you click details, you'll be able to, leave a comment. Right now, this doesn't do anything, right? I tried to leave the comment. It doesn't do anything. We're pulling comments, and this particular project has no comments. So today, we're going to focus on how to hook up the comments to work when we add a comment. And we're going to take a look about it, and that's what we're going to discuss in this video. So Jermaine says, my problems are so simple for you guys, but hard for me to understand. I think if everybody's at some point kind of struggles with stuff where there's no such a thing as like a simple problem. Everything will be hard when you're starting out. And the whole point is to just focus on forcing yourself to build stuff. And I'll kind of tell you like my thought process and what I started to do to encourage myself to build stuff. But let's kind of jump into the code. By the way, we have the dashboard here. If I want to add a project, and I could add a project, and we hooked all this up. Now, today we're going to work on being able to add the comments. So I'm going to work from my local environment here. And if you're joining us, and I just want to stress this, if you guys joining us and you're like, oh my God, Paul is so far ahead, I am feeling like, ask questions. I have no problem going over any part of the code from before and explaining to you what we're doing. And the whole point, even if you get the big picture overview, the point here, the goal here is for you guys to just see the process of someone building something and understanding that it's okay to struggle, it's okay to run into issues, and kind of getting the overall big picture of what it entails to build a design or to create your application. Because when you're taking that tutorial, you got to understand that you're not building something from scratch. You're following along a project that somebody already built. When you go and see what John Smilga does, like he already created that project and he's just showing you how to do it, but you yourself did not go through that creative process. And a lot of times, once you learn how to code, that becomes the next hardest thing to do, is how do you come up with your own project, how you structure the project, how you build it on your own. And if you're not able to close that gap, when you get a job, it's going to be very hard for you to be productive, because at the end of the day, you're going to go to work and they're going to ask you to do stuff. And hopefully when you're starting out as a junior, you work at a company where they're polite and nice and they have a good onboarding process for you, and then they have you work on easy tasks like fixing bugs, and little by little they introduce you to more complex stuff. But that wasn't the case at my last company. They just threw me into the water. Brian, what's up, buddy? Just stopping by to say hi, back to my JS tutorial. Nice. And listen, you guys got to be coding. I'm going to make a coffee mug. Did you code today? It's literally going to be like a coffee mug like this. Not as cool as this Star Wars mug, but it's going to say, did you code today? Because I want everybody to be reminded that at the end of the day, the way you get better is through coding. All right, so let's switch our screen. So I showed you the project we work in. We have the code. So let me just kind of, and again, anytime something doesn't make sense to you, there's a reason this is live. Like, I'm not making it recording, like, I mean, it'll be recorded for after the fact, but it's live because I want to answer your questions that you have. So whenever you're stuck, you're not sure, Paul, what the hell is that? What are you doing? Ask, we'll talk about it. We'll do it together. I don't mind explaining things like bajillion times. And Luck is here. What's up, buddy? Good to see you as always. I know it's super early where you're at. So man, I appreciate you not sleeping and joining in. So our comments are living on our details page. So if I go to our details page here, and good details page, this is where our comments live, and we have a form here. Let me scroll to the bottom here. Message card, website, okay. Container, okay. I'm scrolling, I'm trying to find something, and then I realized that I most likely moved it to the message card. The name says so. Here's our message card, and then we have our message form here. So let me kind of walk you through the form first, and if you are lost, not sure what's happening, it is okay. It is perfectly fine. So I'm using styled components, which allows me to define all my CSS in my, JavaScript. And I like that a lot because it allows me to have all my CSS basically live inside the JavaScript file that needs it. So I have my message form, and all the styling is within this message form component. So if that looks weird to you, don't worry about it. But as you could see here, I write the CSS the same way you would write CSS. So I'm just going to give you an overview. So we have our message component here, and basically we have our state for our message. And if we want to set the message, we will use the useState hook, and we call this set message functionality. So as you could see here, I have this handle submit on my form. It's a very simple form, right? We have our form. We have one input for our message. That's basically what you see here on the screen. Let me go here. I gotta log in. 1 second, guys, so you could see it. So once you log in, you will have this ability to leave message. So this field here that you see on the bottom, let me move my face out of here. Get out of here. Look at this. I'm flying around. It would be obnoxious if I put myself in the middle here like this, right? That's annoying as hell. So we go here. So now you see our forms here. This is where I type stuff. I click send, and it will send our message. So let me show you that this is hooked up here. So let's go back to the code here. So notice how we have our input field, and in React, the way you connect your form to work together is you provide a value prop to which you pass your message, and that value prop, or that message, I guess I should say, is coming from our state here. So if I say, you guys are cool, and you see basically this state is being set to this message here, and I'm passing that message as value. And if you go back here, you see this says you guys are cool. It's basically being provided from our state. So let me go ahead and make sure that we set it blank again, because that's fine. And then what set message does, it basically allows us to take that data that we're getting from the form and save it in our state. So we're firing on change, and on that on change we get access to our eTarget.value, which is basically whatever I type in that form, we're going to be able to save to state. And we're saving our state into this message variable. So I'm going to show you here. I'm just going to console log message so you guys could see that when I type stuff, you guys could see that state updating. So every time I'm going to type stuff, and I didn't make this responsive yet. We're going to do that later. So notice this is where we're going to type stuff. Watch. You see whatever I type is being saved into state. Okay. All right. So far, we're good. Okay. And if you got questions about anything, let me know. And if you haven't smashed the like button, smash the like button just because I don't know what I'm doing. Just that alone should get a like at least. And so we are firing this on change. We're saving our message into state, and right here. And what I did is in this form, I'm passing a callback function, which we're going to use to make some sort of API call. And again, my face is in the way again. That's annoying. Let's move my face here. And so I created a callback function. So in React, if you guys know, you could pass not state, but props down. But if you want to pass something back up, the way you would do it is you would pass a callback function, and this could be named like whatever, cookies, whatever you wanted, and then you pass the variable that you want to pass back up into state into your callback. So if I go back to my message card here, you see I'm passing my callback function here, and it's this function here. So now I'm going to have access to my value. So I'm going to put value. I'm going to say console log so we could at least see our value. And then I'm going to do an alert that's going to say this means we fired submit. And then we're going to console log the value. And if, again, you guys have questions, I don't mind explaining anything. And maybe this is not going to work. But so let's see what happens. I type my comment. I click send. Look, we have this means we fired our submit. I hit OK. And basically, we know that callback function is going to handle, I don't know why I'm zooming in, is going to handle whatever logic we need to place here to fire that form. And the way we talk to our API is using something GraphQL. If you're not familiar with GraphQL, it's like, you have your REST API where you basically send a request to an endpoint to either get the data or post the data. Well, GraphQL is very similar, except one difference that, well, big difference, but one difference, and the main difference why I like it, is that instead of having multiple endpoints, you just have one endpoint. And I will kind of show you some by example. And by the way, you guys could even try this out on your own. If you, by the way, wanted to learn GraphQL, I'll put this link here. If you've never done it before, just start messing around with it. Whatever, you break stuff, who cares? But that's how you learn. So there's a great post here, and I'll share in the comments, which basically has a bunch of GraphQL APIs, and you could actually try it out before making any commitments. So I'm gonna scroll down here, and let's go to try it out here, Rick and Morty API. So if you guys never used GraphQL, which is fine, let me close this. I actually don't like how this view looks. Let me go back to another API. I want something that screen's bigger. Like, it should look something like this so it's easier to see. But I'll show you kind of in our example. So this is GraphQL Playground, which is basically, if you guys ever used Postman to work with REST API, it's basically similar to Postman, just specifically for GraphQL. And if you guys have no idea what I'm talking about, that's okay. It doesn't mean that you guys are not going to learn anything. You know what I'm saying? But the thing here with GraphQL, what's awesome, it allows you to query stuff. And I'll just show you by example first. So I'm going to write a query. I know we have projects. and our projects have IDs. I think our projects have name and description, and actually projects. And this, to you guys, let me make this bigger, may look like JSON, but this is not JSON. This is GraphQL specific query language. But it looks like JSON for a reason, because basically it's going to return the information that you asked for exactly how you asked for it. So when I hit play, notice how I get the data, and I get an array of all the projects, and we get this data object which has our ID. Notice how we asked for ID, so we get ID. It has a name, so we asked for the name, we got the name. We have the description, and we got the description. So we literally get exactly what we're looking for. And what's cool, like for instance, if I wanted to get the likes in REST API, you would have to make an additional call to another endpoint. But with GraphQL, you could literally make it to the same endpoint, and I could just, you know, click here, and then I will get the likes for this particular post, which is phenomenal. Now, if you're lost, that's okay, because we all have to start somewhere. But you could go to that link that I sent you. A good place to start is the Star Wars API. I guess I could make the screen bigger like this, right? So in GraphQL, basically you have queries which get data, and then you have mutations that change data. So in our previous live stream, we talked about getting data by using a query, and I'll show you here. So we have comments query, and we basically wrote a query which we passed the project ID, and when we hit play, we get the comment for that particular project. So a query gets data back. So don't worry about the details, just understand a query gets data back, and then a mutation either updates, changes the data, or posts data. And so before we write a mutation here, like I shared that link, you could go to play around with it, where you could write your queries. If you run your query, you're gonna get the data of all the things you asked. So this is a Star Wars API. So if you're trying to learn GraphQL, you could start playing with free available APIs, and you could find that on the link that I posted in the comments, but also reading the Apollo blog. So we're using on the front end called Apollo Client, and this is what we are using to connect our backend and our front end together. So I'll share this with you guys too. And by the way, guys, if you're not, if like you like, again, this is all alien to me, it's like, well, it's fine, you know, little by little is gonna make sense. So like, let me look at the comments first here, and then we'll continue our journey by making the comment work. So let me go here. Like Brian's like, I'll buy that coffee mug. Yeah, I'll just have to not be lazy and make it. Eli, I find it confusing where some developers are fetching data from other files like a controller rather than the list component. On your opinion, which is more effective security wise? I mean, the thing is, like, you have the front end and you have the back end. A lot of times where you see something called controller, they're responsible for handling the logic of getting your data from the back end. And so when you're calling to an API, whatever API you're calling to, on the server side, they have the controller, the model, and they're responsible, and they even have the view sometimes, but depending if it's just a web API or it's a full stack app. But basically, controller just handles the logic to get the data, and that is responsible to fetch the data on the back end and send it to the front end. But when you're on the front end, you're literally be connecting to the API and using something like fetch or Axios that will basically connect to the API. But on the back end, the API is still calling that controller. And that's something that you will learn about as you start doing development with Node. And I'll show you a quick example here. So our backend, let me share the code here. Our backend is done with Strapi, because Strapi, for all of you guys who are learning front end, there's no reason to rush and jump into backend like really quickly, right? So you could use something like Strapi, which allows you to set up a quick API that you could use for your front end application. And that's kind of what I did. And if we look at our Strapi code, notice how we have our projects, and the projects refer to, let me go show you kind of here. So let me go dev hunt here. So these are all of our projects. So our API has a projects controller that handles the logic that gets this data for us. So if I go back to my code here, notice how we have our project and we have our controller, and our controller has the code and the logic that's responsible for getting that data to our front end. And from our front end, we're making a GraphQL query that allows us to access this data. So I'll show you in code as well. And I'll show you in this example. To get the comments, we're making a query through our GraphQL. So we write our query, and I'll show you it working here. So I tested the query in our example here. Notice when I click play, it returns the data for all comments. And so basically on the front end, I took that query that I wrote, and this use query hook comes with Apollo client, and I'm passing my query in here. I'm passing the ID for the project that I want to get the data, and basically it will return either loading, if it's loading, error, if there's an error, or will return our data. And when we have the data, right, our comments, we pass it to our comment component, and this is where you see our comments here. Let me make this smaller. They're coming from the API, but there's a lot of stuff, and if you guys have questions, definitely ask. But we're going to work today on how can we make our form actually post the comment. And program with Sabinir, first time catching your live stream. I'm excited about this. Hey, glad to have you. Always fun. And I do these streams regardless. So if you miss one, come back next week, or I'm always going to be here regardless, because the point of this, the value of the stream, not the fact that I'm also talking about the code and maybe you learn some of the code, but the value here is that you see the reality of coding something, you see the struggle that goes in, the mistakes that I make, and then you see what happens if you stay consistent. You don't jump around from project to project, you work on one project, and what's going to happen, you see that we started from nothing, now we have something that actually starting to take shape, look like an application. And so if you get anything out of the stream, is this idea: you need to start on your own project, you have to spend time on it, like every day if your schedule allows you. If not, set up a consistent schedule and keep building it till it's done. And instead of making a complex application, start in small features. Like if we take a look at our application here, we have very small scope, very small features. Let me zoom out here just so you could see. So basically we are getting a bunch of projects. Let me go to like the live one because I have more projects here. So our features were super simple. Number one, be able to get the projects. So we got a projects. Then we added a feature for you to be able to like or unlike comments. And then we had a feature where you just should be able to see the detailed page. And then the last feature for this application is adding the comments. And this is what we're working on. Once we finish this final feature, we'll talk about refactoring code and then seeing what should be the next feature that we should add to this application. So that's what we're moving through, working. GraphQL sounds like SQL, so it's similar but different. Like you could literally use GraphQL with SQL. So GraphQL, don't think about it as, is it tied into SQL? GraphQL is a language that you could use to query data on the back end with any database. You could use Mongo, you could use Postgresql, you could SQL. Even if you wanted to, you could actually write, I don't know why you should, but you could actually create GraphQL backend that pulls data from Firebase. But the benefit of GraphQL, it just allows you to get exactly what you ask for, and you have one endpoint that you're connecting to. If you work with REST API, you will have endpoint for users, you will have endpoint for projects, likes, comments. For us, our endpoint is just GraphQL, one endpoint, but I'm able to get all the data that I need through one request. And by the way, that is super amazing because it prevents us from making bajillion requests. And JR Bugs, what's up? Good evening, ladies and gents. Well, good evening to you, my man. And so let's go to it. So we're in our GraphQL playground, and what we want to do, we want to start to figure out how to write a mutation that allows us to create a comment that's going to be connected to our project and to the user who posted that comment. So before we do that, let me show you our not our GraphQL. Let me show you our Strapi backend. And by the way, I didn't create this myself. This is hold on, let me fix my screen here. What's up? My screen was all zoomed in and stuff. This Strapi API allows you to create super fast API that gives you this amazing user interface where you could add data, delete data. Like, our application is going to handle all this from the front end, but it's nice to have this back end that allows us to do this. So notice we have our project here, and the relationship we have comments in our projects, and the way our project knows what comment it is associated with it is through the ID. So if I show you here, content type builder, if I go to my projects, notice we have project here, notice we have comment, and it's a relationship through our comment. So we find it by ID. So our comment ID of whatever comment we decide. I know, like, I'm kind of talking in circles, but whatever comment ID is associated with a project, that's the comment to that particular project. So if I show you this, notice here we have our comments. I only have here, we have our comments. I only have 2 comments here, and notice that we have ID1, ID2, but they both belong to different projects. So the coding recipe finder project has the comment with ID of 1. If that makes sense or not, let me know. But basically, that's how we find, you know, where the comment belongs to. So if you look at our comment data structure, so we have our comments here. In order for us to add a new comment, we need to provide the comment. We need to provide the author who wrote that comment, and we also need to provide the project ID. And this will make sense to you guys in a little bit. Let me just kind of come back here. So we have our React application. When we go to details, we want to add this comment. The 3 pieces of data that we need to provide the ID for this project. So whatever this project ID is, we need to provide it to the comment, because that's how we're going to know the association. The second thing we have to provide, me as a logged in user, I'm currently logged in as Paul. I need to pass my ID so they know that Paul created a comment for this project with ID of 1. And then the last thing we pass is our actual message, is the actual comment. So let's first test it out. And that's the beauty with the GraphQL. We could test out, you know, the mutation that we want. And I believe this is project ID with 36. So I'm going to open up a new tab, and I'm going to create a mutation. And the cool thing about GraphQL here is, if you're kind of not sure what to do, and with Strapi, all of this has been done for you automatically behind the scenes. So if I don't remember how to add comments, even though I added the comment data section, Strapi created all this stuff for us. So if I scroll down, let me make it larger for us guys, and scroll down to mutations, and we have create comment here. And basically it shows us what we need. We need to call comment mutation, and then it shows and then we could look at what kind of input we need to pass. Well, we need to pass the data, and that data needs to have author ID, project ID, and the actual comment. And I'm gonna show you this, so don't worry if you last. So we wanna write create comment. And look, there's, with GraphQL, that's the benefit of it. It gives us call completion. So we want to add a comment, and we need to provide variables. And I'm going to show you this in a second. And so to kind of make this clear for us, I'm going to name this create comment mutation. so I know what this is on the front end. And this is going to take our data. And again, I'm not sure like what it takes. I go to the docs and I look it up. So it takes a data here, and I'll show you in a second here. And it's comment input. That's the data type that it's called. So we have input, create input here. So that's what we're going to pass. We're going to pass into our data. So let me go back here. Close the window. So we're going to pass input, and that input is going to be file name input. What are you complaining about? Stop complaining. Input. When you want to pass a variable, you got to put the $, and it's going to be input type. What is the input type? See, look, I look stuff up all the time, guys. There's no problem. It's create comment payload. And by the way, you will get this, guys. I don't know why I'm doing that. You guys will, over time, through practice, will be able to get this. We'll put this, and this means that it's required. And so now what I want to get back is just the comment that we created. So I know that I have some sort of feedback, and I want to get the ID. And so this is complaining again. Let's check out why it's complaining. It's complaining because we have a variable, but we're not passing that variable. So we have to go to our create input. We want to say our input is equal to input. By the way, you're like, how did Paul, and then there's more complaining. So we'll see what the complaint is. Oh, it's create comment input, not payload. Thank you, GraphQL, for correcting my stupidity. I appreciate it. So create input. And then what we want to do here is in GraphQL, if you want to pass a variable, you would write it here. So we need to pass input, and it's data, and we need to pass, we need to pass an ID. Is it the ID? Okay, I don't remember. Let's check it out. Create comment. And by the way, guys, if you find this is like, oh no, it's boring, I don't know what's happening, that's kind of like exactly what it's like coding at home. I don't know why this would be a surprise to someone, but this is the reason why I do it, is so you guys could see that this is as exciting as it gets. And this is like, look, I don't know what to do, so I look at the documentation. If I still had no idea what to do, I would do Apollo client mutation, right? And you go into the documentation, mutation in Apollo client, and look, it takes you to the documentation. It shows you examples. So if you want to write a mutation, and look, it's kind of showing you exactly the same thing we're doing here, how to pass a variable into our mutation so we could fire it. And then we'll actually come back and look at this example in a second. But for now, let's make sure that we write our mutation the correct format here. So we need data, and inside that data, we're passing create comment. No, I'm looking at the wrong, like create comment. We pass our input data. Inside that input, we need data, and then we have author ID. So that's what I need. I need author ID. We need author. We need project ID, and then we need the actual comment. So we're gonna fake it right now. So we need author ID. I think I'm user 1. I'll have to look that up in a second. We need project ID. I think it's project 36. I'm gonna double check. And then we need the comment, the actual message. Did it work? Most likely not, but that's okay. All right. We also need to pass our token here in order for it to work. So let me go use my previous token. Actually, I have to 1 second here. I have to find the token because I remember I logged in and logged out. Create mutation, comments, query. Oh yeah, create project mutation. This is what I need to copy. It's going to be a different token, and you need the token to verify that you logged in. So that's what we're using it for. So I'm going to go back here, create comment, and so I'll show you where this token, this is wrong token here, but I'll show you what happens. So if you go to our application here, right, and I'm going to log out and I'm going to inspect. Okay, so notice how when I'm not logged in, there's no user present here. There's no data here. So what I want to do is I want to log in. I'm going to log in as coding after 30, use my super secret password, and sign in. Notice when I sign in, I get the JWT token. And by the way, if you don't know what it is, no big deal. It's basically allows me to verify that I'm a logged in user and I have the permission to be able to add data. So let me copy the string here and let me go back to GraphQL, because if I don't provide the JW token, my application is not going to work. So, oh my God, my mouse likes to switch screens. So I provided the token. Let me just make sure that we're passing the proper variables. So I'm logged in as Paul. So let me go to my trusty backend here, users. So I am Paul. I'm a user 1. So that's correct. And we want to add the comment to project with the ID of 36. So let's go to our playground. And so here we are. We wrote a mutation that's going to add a comment to project 36. It's going to say, did it work? And the author that added it, it's me, and I have the ID of 1. So first of all, let's close this. And I'm going to go here. So notice right now, for comments, we just have these 2 comments. So I'm going to attempt to add a comment via our GraphQL mutation and see if it works. So I'm going to click play. So we return an ID of 3. That's the new comment that was created. So let's go to our front end, refresh. Boom, look at that. First comment. So before we even wrote any of our code in our code, we were able to test the functionality using GraphQL Playground. And I think that's amazing because it really saves a lot of time, because now one thing I know for a fact, I know for the fact that my mutation works. I tested it. We added the comment. Even if you go look at our backend with Strapi, I refresh, I go into comments. Notice we have that comment that we just added. It's showing up. So our mutation is legit. It's working. So we're going to continue in just a second. But with that being said, guys, let me know if you guys have any questions. Let me know anything you guys want to talk about, because I'm here not to also just live code, but to show you kind of what I'm doing. But more importantly, anything you guys confused about or don't know, I'm here to answer questions as well. Because over time, obviously the complexity of this application is going to grow, because I'm constantly building. Like last week, what I did, I'm building on top of this week, I'm building it next week. So the point is not so much to show you how to build certain things from scratch, but to kind of show you the process that I go through building, how I think about stuff, how I troubleshoot when we have errors, and kind of show you that it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to struggle, because that's the whole point. The reason why I make these live streams is so you guys are motivated to see that I'm making mistakes all the time. I'm messing up. That's normal. And I want to encourage you guys to work on your own project as you watch me build mine. And so we're going to continue. So we tested our mutation, which is basically going to use Apollo client to fire this mutation, which is going to add this data to our backend. And we know it works because we just added this comment here to our current application. Now, today is not the 12th, is it? I don't think it is. So there's something weird going on here, which we'll deal with that when we get there. Oh, wait, I'm looking at the wrong one. It's this one. Did it work? I'm looking, what's wrong? We actually just added this comment, did it work? How do I know this? Because I wrote, did it work here? And I was like looking at the bottom date being, it's not the 12th. Am I losing my mind? It's the 19th. So this all working correctly. So let's now take this mutation. Oh my God. Let's take this mutation, control copy it, and let's go to our code. And again, if you're lost somewhere, no worries. Just don't be shy. Like, comments are here for a reason. So we copied and pasted our thing. We're going to go into our code. We're going to go to our message card here, and what we're going to do, we're going to add the logic that we're going to fire anytime the send message function is called. And this send message function always gets called when we hit the send button. So anytime my types here hit send, notice you get this means we fired the submit button, and that's coming from here. See, this means we fired the submit button. So what we want to do is we want to write a mutation that we're going to place in here, and whenever our submit form fires, we want to fire off that mutation. So before we do that, the first thing I want to do is I want to add our mutation here. So I'm going to do const comment create comment mutation. Is that what I called it? What I call it? I don't remember. What I call it? Create comment mutation. So we don't even need to say create comment because mutation means you're creating it. So I'm just gonna call this here. And GQL, that's coming from Apollo client that we installed into our React. It's a library that allows us to do that, and that's coming from Apollo client, right? I'm getting the GraphQL, and this basically allows us to write our GraphQL query or mutation here. So I'm just gonna paste it, and I'm gonna call it create mutation because mutation means you're mutating something. So I think it's comment mutation. So there's no point of create comment mutation because mutation means you're creating anyway. So we have our query. So next thing we need to do, there's this hook called use mutation, and you don't have to take my word for it. Because like I always tell you guys, you gotta get comfortable, try to build projects on your own and reading documentation. So here it is. I already looked it up for you guys a few minutes before. We went to Apollo client docs, and here's an example of our query that we wrote. We're passing our variables, and now we want to create a mutation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this, and we're going to go to our code, and I'm going to paste it, then I'll walk you through it here. So this is the example that we copied. So the first thing, the example takes in an array that you pass. The array takes two things. Number one, it takes a name that you want to name your mutation. So I'm going to call it create comment, and we could call it make us cookies with bread, whatever the hell you want. And then in return, this is going to return error, loading, if it's loading, or data. Now, the issue that we have here is that we have another query here that has similar names. So we're going to deal with this slightly different because we also have a callback that we could call here. And I'll show you how that works in a second. So right now I'm just going to pass create comment. Now here we're not adding a to-do, we're creating a comment. So we're going to pass this mutation, comment mutation. We're going to pass it in here. And so that's good. So now what we need to do, we need to fire this mutation. And the way we're going to do that, we're going to go into our function that we know already is being called whenever we click submit. And I'm going to call our create comment mutation. And we're going to pass inside the things that we need. We need to have variables. And this is basically following let me go back here, this data structure. So it's going to be variables, I believe input.data. So I'm just going to copy it for now. And again, a lot of times when I do stuff, it breaks, but we're gonna start just by seeing what happens and then going from there. So blah 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 blah. Am I in the right thing? Where am I? Where am I? Where's that function? Message card. So here. So we're going to pass our input data, and what we want to replace is replace this with the variables. So our author ID comes from our user contacts, and we'll take a look in a second. So let me console log user and then project ID, because these are the two things we need. We need this, yes, yes, we need this and so let me go back to here and kind of look at our inspector and then look at our console. So we need this. So our user returns our token and user ID, so we need to get the user ID, and then project ID is fine. So let's do that. Let's go to our code. So from user, and you could destructure it, but it's just one thing we're not going to worry about. But just to make sure that I am perfectly fine, I think this is what we need, user ID. Yeah, so we get our user ID here, and then we get a project ID. Those are the two things we need in order to identify the user who created the comment, and then which project is that comment associated to. So here we're going to put user ID. Oh no, I just spilled my coffee. See, I'm not drinking coffee fast enough. 1 second, guys. Just let me wipe down my desk. Don't want to get electrocuted. All right, okay. Yeah, smash the like button, guys, if you think I'm completely off my rocker, and if you think that like this is just the most ridiculous stream you ever saw. But I want to just capture the real life coding, so you guys, when you're stuck at home and you're coding and things are not working and you're getting stuck and you're trying to figure stuff out and you're looking at code and you're ready to slam your head against the desk, welcome to being a developer. And I just want to make sure that I share with you the most live representation of that, so you guys are not surprised when you're trying to code at home and stuff is exploding in your face, because sooner or later you need to deal with that discomfort. And this is what I tell you guys: build projects. By the way, let me just come back here. By the way, I also want to do some coaching, but I want to test out, is the way that I coach, does it make sense? So I'm looking for guinea pigs. I'm sorry, not guinea pigs, you guys, not guinea pigs, but I want to give you guys a free one-on-one with me. And basically for you guys to kind of see how I teach, what I do, what my philosophy is, and also get your feedback to be like, oh, this was helpful, or was completely not helpful. I know it's going to be helpful, but if you want to get free one-on-one, it's only going to last for next 25 days, 20 days. And by the way, the time slots that I have available, if they all fill up, I don't have any more time slots. So if you want to get a free one-on-one with me via Zoom, go to Calendly link that I put there and just submit a request to have one-on-one with me, and it's going to be amazing. It's going to be better than this live stream. I know that for a fact. For a fact, I could actually guarantee that, because you guys are going to be doing a lot of work. Because the point when you're learning something is not to be passive learner, but to be, participate. That's what you guys are going to do on that live stream, is participate like crazy. But back to our normal programming. So we're working on, look, brain fart. Yes, we passed our user ID. Now we need the project ID. So I'm going to pass my project ID. You're wondering, where's that project ID comes from? Well, it is already coming from this prop that we passed earlier before. So in theory now, we got a user ID, we got our project, And now we want to add our message, and our message is coming from our value. So let me make it more apparent. I could call it message. And you're like, wait, how does the message come back again, Paul? How does that happen? How does the message come back? I'll show you. So this send message function is being passed as a callback to our message form. Our message form is responsible for the state of that form. And so once we type in our message, it gets saved in this message state, and we're passing that into our callback function. When we hit submit, our callback function gets fired. This is our callback function that's referencing our send message function. So we get access to that message state. And so that's what we're going to do. And let me look at the comments here. Tammy says, Paul, I'm solid with HTML and CSS, some basic JS. What content are you using to test out your teaching techniques? My teaching techniques are very simple. It's more of not me showing you how to do something. It's me asking you to build something and then seeing where you are. And if you get stuck, I'm going to not show you how to do it, but I'm going to give you hints. And then if you're stuck, I'm going to show you the thought process why I think it is so. And then I'm going to show you not to take my word for it, but where to find that answer yourself if you get stuck in the future and I'm not around. And then once you get unstuck, we move on to the next step. So basically, instead of me throwing a bunch of knowledge at you, I'm going to see where you're at, and by asking you to build something. And you guys are going to have to build that thing. And like a quick example would be, I could show you a website, be like, hey, build out this card component. Start with HTML and CSS. And if you don't know anything, then I'll teach you enough to know at least what your next step is and to be able to accomplish that step. But with every end of each lesson that you guys do with me one-on-one, you guys going to have written code yourself, and you will understand better what you wrote yourself. And then the way I'm teaching my privates, they're actually the biggest side effect of that is that you won't be my student forever, because you're going to learn how to solve those issues yourself. So like when you get stuck, because I'm going to teach you how to learn and how to code and how to progress on your own. I don't want you to be my student forever. I want you guys to eventually get jobs and get hired. So that's the thought process. So somebody's like, you're not going to make as much money. I don't want to help people that are not making progress, if you know what I mean. So I'm not sure to teach you guys to get good and move on, because like I'm sure I'll have mugs to sell after that. Once you like learn to code and you're like, we want to send Paul money, but we already learned everything. He taught us so good, we could do everything ourselves. Then I'll sell coffee mugs or something. So I'm not worried about that, but that's kind of what I'm going to do. So back to the code. So now we could test this out. Our app probably not going to explode. Teaching your privates. Tech Rally, you're always thinking about privates. I get it. You know, it's lonesome in the dungeon of Tech Rally's apartment. You know, he's there. You know, it's pandemic. Of course, you're going to think about privates and clickable moments. No, but Tech Rally, by the way, awesome channel. If you don't subscribe to Tech Rally, go check him out. He also just released a course that he could tell you about, you know, because I don't want to give you the discount code here, because then it's like you're not going to go check out his channel. Go check out his channel. You'll see the video. You get a good discount, but it's also a course with React. And you're like, oh my God, Paul, you're helping your competition. Look, YouTube is huge. There's a bajillion people on YouTube. So I'm not worried. I'm not worried. By the way, my privates are going to be way better than his. I'm just saying that right now. Whatever. Tech Rally, don't get upset. That's just how, I just know that for a fact. But anyway, so this technically shouldn't break, and we should probably update a comment, but you guys are going to see a problem. There's going to be a couple of problems. So let's go here. Oh my God, what is happening here? So maybe it will break. Actually, I lied to you. I don't know if it's not going to break. It's probably going to explode. I'm going to cry a little bit. But if it doesn't break, I'll probably pee a little bit from happiness. Oh my God. But like I said, this is not the most professional stream. I apologize. So I'm going to say Tech Rally says your project is the greatest. And we know it's not Tech Rally because Tech Rally knows how to spell project. Send. This means our form fired. Let's take a look here. So we're here right now, alert. So in theory, this is supposed to run. It'll probably blow up, but that's okay. Okay, click OK. Okay, it didn't blow up. But where's the comment? Where's the thing? Paul, I don't see it. It's broken. So hold your horses. Let's take a look here. Network. Oh man, I should have had this open when I did it. Okay, let me refresh. Nice. So notice when I refreshed, Paul B, that's me. I commented on this awesome project. I tried to be Tech Rally, but our app is too smart. It knows that who you are when you comment because I'm a logged in user. So Tech Rally says your project is great and it's awesome. So this worked fantastic. The only reason is it didn't update our state. It didn't show the new comment. So we're able to write a comment. So let's handle this issue of why the hell it's not updating the state. And the reason why it's not updating the state is because we want to refetch the query. We want to refetch this page. Our application doesn't know that we added data. So it doesn't know that we have to refetch something. And what's nice, let's go back to the details here. What we need to do is obviously go to the documentation. So we did this part. This works great. So let me scroll down, but taking mutation status, all whatever irrelevant, you guys. Refetching queries. So basically what we need to do now, we need to refetch our get comment query. And the way you do that is as a second argument, you pass this refetch queries. And you pass the name of the query. And then you pass the thing that you want to refetch. That looks kind of weird for me. Like, hold on a second. What was happening to my mouse? Let's see an example here. And I know that that's the thing to do because that's what I did before. And I'll show you a working example in our code. So where I use refetch queries. So anytime you add a project, we want to refetch and update the project queries. So I believe it's in our, I don't even know where it is. So much stuff here. Component, message card, messages. It's in our details, project likes, project card, projects. No, it's not here. Let me go here to pages. So it's in our details. That's where it at. That's where it's at. So look at this. Like once you get the patterns, you'll be using the same patterns. Like this starts to look familiar a little bit. Okay, detail. We need to go into, wait, it's not, it's inside dashboard. I'm like such a big liar here. It's inside our dashboard. I'll show you the example of what I'm talking about in refetch queries. I believe it's here. So notice how we're doing basically the same thing. We provided a variable of items that we want to send. And then afterwards, we're doing refetch query, which takes an array of queries that you want to refetch. So we're going to do exactly the same thing. We are in our message card. So after we fired this function, we want to do refetch. Do I not know how to spell? Or am I not in the, I'm in not, hold on a second. I hate these brackets because I don't know which bracket I need to be. It's variables. So it should be here, refetch queries. Here we go. And then we pass inside a array. And that array takes an object of our query. Let me look at documentation again. What am I doing? What am I doing, guys? My computer's not letting me. We just pass our query name, and then we need to call it a comment mutation. Where's that query? We want to get query by project. There's a little issue here, but that's okay. We're going to figure it out. We could, oh my God, I said copy and paste, you bastard. Comment mutation, control copy. No, not mutation. What are you guys saying? We need the query. There's an issue here. We need to pass we pass in a query, but notice our query requires that we also pass the project ID. Right? We need the project ID. So the good news, the same pattern that we use where we pass variables, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to, as a second argument, I believe it's here, variables, we're going to pass the variables that we need, and we've done it above, so I could copy and paste it. See, we're passing variables ID equals project ID. Now, by the way, guys, if you're super lost, you can ask questions. I will help you out with whatever we need to help out. But in the scope of the universe, what we're doing here, let's walk through the code. We want to tell React that we want to refetch our comments. And the way we cause our refetch to work, we want to pass the query, which is this query here that's going to get all the projects for us. Not projects, comments, all the comments for us. And then we want to refetch the query. So like, because you saw earlier when I updated the state, it didn't show us the new comment. So we're literally going to trigger refetch query. It's going to refetch query, and we should see that data in our front end. So it's probably going to blow up again. Let's try it. So we could close this at this point. So our latest comment should appear here. Let me look at the comment. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Smash the like button. Like how should you smash the like button like this. Like this. Just go smash. Smash the like button. Massage the like button, but not too much because I wanted to stay liked. So we click send. This means we fired our submit. Where's that coming from? It's coming from, oh, I made a big mistake. I'll show you guys in a second. It's not in the code though. I don't make mistakes in the code. Yeah, right. I make mistakes all the time. So this is where this is coming from. You see, alert, this fired. So right next is gonna fire this amazing mutation, add a comment, and hopefully update the front end. So if I click here, okay. Boom, smash that like button. We did it, guys. I didn't actually, to be honest, guys, I did not know that I was able to get this done in this live stream. But not only do we have ability to add comments, we have the ability to do it as different users, and it's gonna work. So we only have one project here, but that's okay. We're going to actually, I'm going to show you how to my deployment process as well. So if you stuck around this long, you guys will get to see how I deploy this to the master branch, because we have this running live. So first of all, I'm going to show you the live site. This is the live site. Notice right now the live site doesn't work at all. Why? Because I just built this feature and I did not deploy it to the main site. So I could do this all day and nothing's going to happen. So once we finish everything, we're going to deploy the changes to our live site and test. And I'm going to show you my deployment process and how I do it. But first things first, let's just check that our stuff works. So let me go log out. I don't remember Aria's password. Good thing I have the backend here. I could just take a look. Users. Aria. This is her email. aria@email.com. And her password, I forgot her password, so I'm gonna change it. Change it to something that we'll never forget. Test user. So what we're going to do, we go to our beautiful application. I am going to log out. Seriously right now. who could guess why this is happening? Because I logged out, we no longer have a user, but we're calling console log here that is waiting for the user. So let me go into my code and get rid of this because we don't need this right now. So we go back and magically our application is fixed, right? So now I'm gonna log in as Aria. Her email is aria@email.com. That's totally real email. Her password is test user. So I'm now logged in as Aria. How do I know this? Because it has her picture here. If I go to details, right? If I leave the comment, it shouldn't say Paul B, it should say Aria. So let's check it out. I am Aria. And your project sucks. And I'm going to click send because that's the whole point of the section. So notice we logged in as Aria and she was able to add the comment. I'm Aria and your project sucks. And by the way, this is why I only allowed logged in people to post comments on this app, because I want people to take ownership of the comments they put and not hide behind anonymous user. And by the way, I'm the one who creates and adds users, so you can't just log in. You have to write me an email if you want to use this application, and I'll create a user for you. And I'll talk more about why I'm doing it that way. But let me log out because I think Paul has something to say about it. And by the way, notice I can't comment until I log in. So I'm going to log in. Coding after 30, he's got to speak his mind. So he's got to go here, speak his mind. Let's look. Oh my God, Aria, your project sucks. And then I could go, well, Aria, I am sorry that you feel this way, but at least I am coding and not watching Gilmore Girls. I don't know how to spell Gilmore Girls. Like an idiot on Netflix. But thank you for your comment. Smiley face. Send. Boom. See, our comments work. Fantastic. So we got this down. We got it working. A lot of people don't like my sense of humor, so a lot of them just left, which is fine. I don't mind. So now we got our functionality that we talked about working. And by the way, if you're jumping on the stream live, all these streams are recorded, so you could check them out again. But right now we finished our feature and we're going to deploy it to our live site. So if we go to our live site right now, like I showed before, notice how the comments don't work. This feature is not hooked up. So I'm going to show you how I go through the process of deploying and making sure that I don't break something. And I'm going to specifically do some messed up stuff that it's broken. But first things first, my biggest mistake was, notice I'm still in the master branch. I shouldn't have not done that. I should not be in a master branch because I don't want to commit anything to master, especially if I didn't test the code, if stuff is broken. JB Payne's here. JB Payne. Sup, Paul? Very nice content as always. Man, thank you so much, brother. I love all of you guys. I love you guys so much that I don't mind embarrassing myself and putting the stuff that I do live and going from there. But the first thing I should have done is created a new branch, and I should have called it what we're doing, create comment. Luckily, it's not too late to do it now, but I should have done it from the start. Now, what I'm going to do before I push this, I'm going to do some stuff like, I know it's going to be a mistake. Like I'm going to do const something equals whatever blank. So I'm not using this variable, and you don't want to have any unused variables in your code and whatever errors, but this is going to show you what I mean, why you don't want to push this to your live code. Let me move my face to another side here. By the way, I'm sick and tired being on the left. I'll go to the right. Imagine if I just push this to master and I didn't check this, my code would fail to deploy, and I know this for a fact. So first thing what I'm going to do is I'm going to, in my terminal, and just so you guys could see better, I'm going to do it in this terminal. So the first thing I do, I'm already inside this branch, I do get status. So I'm going to see the changes that I make. Then I do get add, and I do get status again to check that I added this up. By the way, I should have done git branch just to see that I'm in the proper branch. Luckily I am. Create comment. And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to do git commit. And what I do when I do my commits, when I write the message just so it's easier to find, I call whatever I called my branches. So it was create comment and added this message is not detailed enough, but whatever. Added comment functionality, I can't spell, and do git push. And now what happened, this is going to push all the changes to a separate branch. Never push anything to master. Never push anything to master. Oh my God, it's going to break stuff. You guys are going to be in trouble. So I just pushed that. You could see in my VS Code, I no longer have any changes here. And now what I do is I go to my GitHub. I go to my GitHub. A lot of people ask me, like, how should you use GitHub? Well, number one, you should never work in master branch. You should always have separate branch. So I'm in my GitHub. I go to my community project client, and the first thing you guys are going to see, what are you guys going to see? There's something I didn't do. What did I not do? Community client. I'm in community one client. Okay, I'm in this branch. Set. What? Where did I push the stuff? I pushed the stuff to the ether. What happened? Git. Oh, I know why. I know why, guys. I know, guys. I never pushed my branch up. You could click here. You could do git push origin create comment that branch, but I like to click here. It makes it now. So now, okay, now we legitimately, I saved it locally. Now we legitimately pushed it to the branch here. So now when you go onto GitHub, you're going to see something like this. Create comment has recently pushed less than a minute ago. That's the last change. So I don't want to just merge it. I'm going to create a pull request. And this is important when you're working on a team, but when you're working by yourself, you should still do this. So I go compare and create pull requests. So I'm going to, first of all, I'm going to make sure the spelling is okay. And I'm just going to assign it to myself right now because it's just me. And I still want you guys, even if you're by yourself, you still should follow this process. So you create a pull request. And the first thing you're going to happen, you're going to see that it's going to show you the files it's changed. But if you deployed your app through Netlify like I did, and you have continuous deployment, guys, if you learn how to code really well, you're going to have continuous deployment, 100% guaranteed. But right now we're talking about continuous deployment. So this is going to do the checks, and it's not going to let me merge until I pass all the checks. So I know the checks are going to fail because there's a bunch of stuff that I added that we don't want, but I'm just going to show you the process. But while it's doing the check here, you're going to see also files changed here. So when you go into files change, it's going to show you exactly the code that you added. You see, guys? So it's going to show you the changes that we did today. So this is an opportunity for you to review your code to make sure that it looks like good, that things are the way they're supposed to be, they're not broken. Don't just commit stuff willy-nilly, because you can't chance breaking the live application. Like I have this application deployed live, and I don't want to deploy changes, they're going to break it. So we check it, views, okay, that's what we did, okay. So we take a step back, and look at that, our deployment failed. And this is like the most important part that I wanted to tell you guys. Our deployment failed, and this is why you should be working in separate branches, testing them first before you push it to master. If I went ahead and pushed this branch to master, my application that is deployed would have broke. So we're not gonna do that today. We're gonna make sure that we do it right. So let's come back here to my screen. And so with Netlify, it's awesome. You could click details. It's gonna take you to your Netlify account, and it's gonna show you basically what went wrong. And it says it failed to compile. Something is assigned a value but never used, so it doesn't let you compile code when you have unused variable. So that was a very easy mistake that I left on purpose. So I'm gonna go back to my code. And by the way, also when you guys coding, try to not have console logs. So I'm going to remove the alert because you don't need it. I'm going to remove this console log. I'm going to also remove the unused variable that we don't want to have. I'm gonna again clear. I'm gonna do git status again, just to see the files that I'm adding. Okay, the change that I did, I'm gonna do git add, and then I'm gonna get status again, make sure that it's added. I'm gonna do get push, and I'm still in my branch because I know it. Oh, I didn't get commit. So when this is what I forget all the time. After you do git add, right, and you do get status, it's going to show you the file that you want to add. But to add it, you need to do get commit message. And again, I always like to start the name of my messages. I mean, the name of my message, not the name, the actual content of the message, by the branch that it's in, create comment. So it's just easier to search. And I'm just going to say fixed errors looks freaking good. Good. And then I commit, I do get push. Now we go back to our pull request that we created earlier that failed, and then after we made the changes, it's going to check the changes again. It's going to double check to make sure if we have errors or not, if things are working or not. And while it's doing that, I'm gonna also double check the files changed, and so I could kind of go see like what are the changes I made, do they look good, do I have any mistakes. So you should always be checking your code before you deploy it. And so let me check here. Yep, looks good. And then we'll go back. So now I'm gonna wait for the check to pass before I commit to the live. So basically the steps that we did, we set up a separate branch in our local working environment, create comment. We did all the changes and create comment, and we tested those changes. Then we pushed the changes to a separate branch to our GitHub. Then we created a pull request and we double checked the changes again to make sure that we had no mistakes. And then we're doing the final check before we deploy to our master branch. So if there's break and changes here, I definitely don't want to deploy them because it's gonna break my master live application that I have running here. So as you could see this right now, this feature doesn't work. This is the feature that is not implemented in the app that's deployed. That you could actually go to www.community1project.com to see the deployed version. And so the changes that we did today of being able to add comments like we did today is not deployed yet. So the step that we're on right now is we're checking everything. We're making sure that our checks, where is it? Yeah, are passed. So it's still checking. Let me refresh. Maybe I have to refresh. Okay, so all the checks have passed. Now I don't even have to cross my fingers because we already tested our code. We worked at a separate branch. We tested our code. We know that this works. And so now what we're going to do is deploy it to our master branch. So I'm going to do squash and merge. And then confirm squash and merge. Delete the branch because we don't need it anymore. So now what's going to happen, this is in Netlify going to get committed to the master branch. And by the way, we made all the changes in a separate branch. We tested it. We created a PR request. And now when everything is safe, we committed to our masters. So now if I go to, like I could close this stuff now. Now if I go to my Netlify account, just to show you the inner workings of it, because the front end is deployed with Netlify, and it's still building here. So we're gonna let it finish building. And while it's finishing building our app, I'm gonna show you where I host the backend. I host it on Heroku, and we have our Strapi and our Postgresql database being hosted on Heroku. And that's basically my stack. React for the front end, hosted in Netlify, and Heroku with Postgresql and Strapi. Well, I should say Strapi and Postgresql hosted on Heroku. And that's where it's at. And what I could do is open the backend of my application. I could go to admins, And one thing that you have to do with Strapi, coding after 30 at gmail.com. I have to, what am I doing? At gmail.com, not dot at gmail. Coding after gmail.com. I don't remember my password. It's the same one. So once I log in, before we could test if our comment feature is working, Strapi never gives you permission to do anything, just so your application is secure. So what I want to do in my settings to double check that I gave those permissions. So I think I did last stream, but maybe I didn't. I did for our authenticated users. So if a user is authenticated, they should be able to create comments. So I already have this checked. Sometimes if this is unchecked and you're trying to add a comment, doesn't work, make sure you check your permissions first. So I'm going to save. Let's check, is our deploy still deploying? Publish, deploy. I think that's deployed. Yep, published. So now I could go here. We could close this one because that's local. We go to our main application. Where the hell is it living? Where is it? Here. So this is at live community1project.com. You could actually go check it out. So now, moment of truth. Let me log out. Moment of truth. Let's see if it works. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to log in. So before, as you guys remembered, the comments didn't work. I'm going to go to details. So we have one comment here. Let me go somewhere. Man, hiccups and burping. What is happening with me today? Like, go to details where there's no comments. I'm going to log in. I'm going to log in as coding after 30. And I'm going to go to that section. I'm going to leave my first comment. This is my first comment. Moment of truth, guys. It's probably going to blow up. Oh, no. It don't work. Why? Why? Let me refresh. Let me refresh. Oh, broke my app. And so, to be honest with you, I'm surprised that it doesn't work. And I want to know why. So sometimes, guys, this is going to happen to you guys. You guys are going to try to figure something out. You guys, it works in your local environment, but it does not work in your production environment. And this is where you kind of have to go and test. So try again, send. Oh, I just had to give it some time and refresh. I guess the update didn't propagate yet. So it works. So now I'm like wrote a stupid comment. Let's do, yay, it works. So that works. And now what we want to do is we want to log out and try a different user. Let me check what other users I have here. So I have Aria, but she has a weird email here. So let me copy this email. So let's see if we could add a comment as Aria. So we go here. Let me log in. I'm going to log in as Aria. Oh, forgot her password. It's not the same password as my local environment. Log in as Aria. It's another super secret password. I just don't remember what it is. Okay, so I logged in as Aria. You could tell it says hi Aria here. So let's go to details. I'm going to add a comment here. What's good? Click send. And look at that. So our comment works. We could, and our app knows who left it. So I could go to a different one, go to, like I could like this. I could do details. Oh, this stream is sick. Oh, boom, our comment works. So guys, so remember how I talked earlier, whenever you're building your portfolio, don't try to do too much. Don't try to get ahead of yourselves. Keep the scope small. And I'm going to kind of review what we did. This is a great stopping point for us to kind of review, talk about how now we have a functional application that has all the features that we planned. And so now I'm able to think about what next feature I want to implement in my application and start planning that. And Sharma, what's up? Welcome. Good to see you. So the first thing I want to talk about, when we first started this stream
And guys, don't wait. You got to start building your projects. I can't stress that enough. But when we first started, I did quick and dirty. I just decided, okay, what does our application need to do? It needs to be able to display oh my God, I wanted to highlight this. To display the portfolio, to display pictures of the user, have the button to be able to like and comment. We want to introduce React Router where we have a couple of different pages. We want to have a login page. We want to be able to authenticate user. If the user is authenticated, we allow you to upvote. If user is not authenticated, you have to log in. We created add comment button. We created a form to add comments, and now we're able to leave comments. So everything that as my first minimal viable project thing that I wanted to build, we basically did this checklist. And these are the objects we have on the backend. We have our users, our likes, our portfolio, and our comments, which you could see here. We have our comments, likes, projects, and users. Those are the data structures for our database. Then I created super simple mockups of what it should look like. I did this before I actually wrote any line of code. And if you take a look at our application that's deployed, where is it? Where's the application? See, if you go to our dev hunt, we have that view. We have the ability to like or dislike or not like or unlike. We have our detail section, which works. We could go back. We have our routing, so we could go to the home. We could go to our dashboard. We could go back home. We also added this ability to leave comments. This works. And now when I hit send, look, the comments work, they post, and we accomplish everything we set out to do. And the only reason I was able to do that because I kept the scope small. If I added all the scope, all the different features I wanted, I would have never gotten this far. So now I have an application that you as users can use. If you have a username, you could go to the dashboard. You could add your portfolio. That works. You're able to comment on other people's portfolios. You're able to, see their information, see the live demo of their projects that they added. So we have basic functionality that we need. So now, I basically brought this application to closure. And if I stop doing anything with this application, which I'm not going to, but let's say if I did, at least as a minimum viable product, it has the functionality that we set out to do. And I could showcase this because everything here works. But obviously we're going to continue building features, and I'm going to decide what feature to implement next. And we'll talk about the planning phase of that in the next stream. You guys could help me decide actually in the next stream. By the way, next stream, if you guys show up, we could all decide what would be the next feature to do. But this works. We implemented everything we wanted. I hope that makes sense to you guys. Instead of making a big project and trying to do everything at once, segmented into smaller pieces that could stand on their own and just work until you get those features working. And so all of this works. I'm really happy where we are. And obviously this is not the end of a journey. This is just the beginning. We're going to keep working on that. So with that being said, man, thank you guys. First of all, before we take on some more questions, I hope you guys want to ask some questions because I definitely want to answer some questions about anything. But I hope you guys like the stream. I hope seeing the process of what the reality of coding is gives you motivation to know that it's okay to fail. It's okay when stuff doesn't work. It's okay when you're struggling. But at the end of the day, you guys have to work on building stuff. And this is the whole point of the stream. The stream here, not so much to teach you everything about code. I'm actually going to start doing one-on-ones for those who are interested. And I'll make also separate free tutorials here as well, where I teach you specifics. But this is more to give you an overview of how you think about building a project, how you handle, different features, one feature at a time, how you keep yourself from creating scope creep, how do you think about debugging when things don't work, what is the deployment process to make sure that you don't break your live site. And by the way, this is something that I'm building to be able to showcase in my portfolio. And the whole point here, I want to build an application complex enough which manages users, has authentication. Oh my God, Tech Rally, you're gonna make me cry. I appreciate it. Tech Rally says you're a good teacher, Paul. And I want to say to Tech Rally, I love you. I really appreciate it. I was going to make fun of you. And as a Russian, I have no soul. I have no heart. And it's very easy for me to make fun of people, but I can't Tech Rally, I love you. It means a lot to me that you said that. like, I also want to say though, like, my confidence, by the way, guys, is just people, if you think like you, oh my God, Paul's so good at talking, Paul's so good at teaching. I taught Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Yeah, it's a martial art, but teaching is teaching. So I taught Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for over 10 years or like 14 years. I'm so old, I don't remember how long it was. But I have a lot of teaching experience and talking, so don't think that this is something that's natural. This is something that I developed over time and continue to develop by doing these live streams. But yeah, and so if you guys want to get one-on-ones, I'll share my Calendly link one more time. All of them are free for the next 25 days, but also it has set amount of scheduled days. And if I get booked for all the times, like, you know, you guys missed out. But guys, there's a lot of openings, by the way, but still, don't wait, don't hesitate, because my goal is to help you guys learn how to learn and how to get better to a point where you won't need me anymore. Because at the end of the day, I don't want you guys to spend 3 years building stuff. I want you guys to get jobs and move on. And so that's what we're doing. But we accomplished our goals. We created the features that we needed on our app. And so next live stream, we're going to plan on doing what we need to do, which is plan our second phase of what feature we want to introduce. And I think I already know what it is, but we'll talk about it next stream. You know, and by the way, guys, there's so many YouTubers out there, and it's important for you guys to find people that kind of are on the same path. I'm 41 years old. I got my first job at 39. I struggled really hard. And you don't have to watch my channel. There's plenty of great channels out there. But the most important part is to find someone that you like, that motivates you, and that someone that believes the same things you do. And that's why, you know, I was lucky that I got introduced to John Smilga, because we both share the same process. And also Tech Rally here, amazing guy. Me and him, like, we're just starting out with YouTube, but he's also another one who actually went to boot camp. So if you ever have questions about boot camps or process of how he got hired on Amazon, check out his channel, and he's got a lot of valuable information. Like, I'm not worried about sharing the love, recommending other people that I trust. And by the way, if you know me, there's people I don't like on YouTube that, like, I just, like, maybe they're good people, maybe they whatever, but they're like, I'm only like, I like to communicate with people that I would be friends with in real life. Tech Rally is one of them. John Smigel is one of them. All of you guys who are part of this community are amazing. And so what I want to say is that you don't have to just watch me. There's plenty of stuff out there. So for the one-on-ones, we should just have Zoom, not including VS Code installed. Yeah, so you should definitely have Zoom and VS Code. And then if you have the live, I forgot what it's called, like VS Live Share. I think it's called Live Share plugin for VS Code. Actually, let me Google it for a second. I was gonna actually walk everybody on the call how to install it, but if you wanna go ahead of me, install Live Share VS Code. You don't have to install Zoom. You could use the web version of the Zoom. But if you have VS Code, go to, and in VS Code, find this plugin called Live Share. Basically, it will allow you to share your VS Code with me. So when you type in it, I'll see it in my VS Code, and I'll be able to type in your VS Code and help you with changes, because you guys are going to be doing most of the driving and I'll be doing the helping. Because if you think that you're going to go to my lesson and not do any work and just listen, you're mistaken horribly. You guys are going to deal with the pleasure of learning how to code live and talking about what you're doing to the instructor, and me as your instructor guiding you through the process. So I'm just saying. JR Bugs, I wish that was 100% true. I think you're lucky to be part of the community of people that are supportive and abundance. But if you hang out on like Stack Overflow and stuff like that and ask about learning to code, like at a later age, you're going to get a lot of negativity. It happened to me, but I'm just glad that YouTube promotes like positive people. By the way, there's other people that are not positive, that whine all the time. And I'm like that, like nobody wants to hear your whining. Nobody wants to. No, maybe people do want to hear about whining, but this channel is about positivity. It's about you getting to your job as fast as possible, being, job ready with React as quickly as possible. My God, Serge, I love you, my man. For those who are already fed up with raffinated YouTube tutorials, Paul is a breath of fresh air. Thank you, man. Thank you, guys. I love all of you guys. I need a like button that I could smash for you guys. Like, I gotta like smash like buttons for the community, like everybody here. You guys motivate me to do this. And like I said, I'm gonna do this like every Tuesday. I do this coding stream. We're gonna keep doing it until this project, it'll never be done, by the way. This is going to be an ongoing tutorial where we're going to build it with React first, then we're going to move to Next.js, and then we're going to eventually make a complementary app with React Native, because I've never done it before. So man, I appreciate you guys so much. And by the way, while we're chatting, we finished our main kind of course. We accomplished what we needed to do. You guys have questions, you guys have anything that you want to talk about, let's hang out for another 15 minutes together before we hit that 2-hour mark. But yeah, I hope, and let me know if like anytime, by the way guys, I want to be the best like teacher I can be. I want to provide the best information that's valuable to you guys. So if I'm doing something, like I'm open for constructive criticism. Don't worry, you're not going to hurt my feelings, because I don't have any feelings, but I do want to provide you like what you guys need to motivate you to keep building and working. And the biggest thing that I want to say is that like the faster you start failing by building your own projects, actually this reminded me, I'm going to show you something. I show this every stream, but you need to build stuff, and the more you fail building stuff, the quicker you learn. So put down those tutorials, start moving forward. So and just Tammy's question quick. So to be clear, have live share extensions installed, plus either Zoom desktop or Zoom online version. 100%, that should work perfectly fine. And by the way, if you have trouble with something, I'll help you set that stuff up when we do the call. And if you missed the link, let me throw the link up again. I'm doing free lessons as to kind of test out my teaching methodology for next 25 days or so. Alex, what's up, brother? Good to see you. You guys want to schedule like a trial lesson with me? They're absolutely free. So JR Bugs, how much % of the job ad did you qualify for when you applied to your current job? I hear 50 and 80 to match qualification. Wondering, I basically apply to anything, and if I get the interview, I'm already praying like, thank God, thank you sir for letting me get the interview. And then I go for the interview, and then I just try to do the best that I can. And for all the interviews that I fail, before I leave, or like maybe they don't tell me right away, they'll send me an email. I'll send them an email back. Hey, by the way, thank you for your time. I understand you decided to go with another candidate, but do you mind telling me why you decided to choose another candidate instead of me? Was there something I'm lacking, or blah blah blah? And they don't owe you the feedback, but people will go ahead sometimes and tell you. They'll say, oh, your project wasn't good enough, or you didn't do good enough at live coding. And at least there's no ambiguity, and you know what you need to know to be able to take that next step so you do better on that interview. 100%. But I just apply to whatever, you know. JB Payne's asking, this is really helpful, or saying that we can see how the process of starting a project and how you structure the app. Yeah, thanks. I mean, I'm still learning as well. I'm not like a guru. I'm not a master. I'm just a student who's not shy about showing my embarrassing mistakes and the stuff that I'm going. And hopefully, you know, the stuff that I learned could help you guys to learn and move forward. Then I think like the best mentality you could have in this field is always think of yourself like, I'm a student, I'm constantly learning, because that way your future is always going to be bright, because you'll never stagnate in your development and working. So that's my advice. By the way, not yet set up on GitHub account. Would like to get this done within a couple of weeks, but what to make sure I get the right display name on the account page. Have seen about this in course I have. Hey, if you don't get your GitHub set up before our lesson, and I could help you set this up, but you definitely want to set up the GitHub for sure. And you're welcome, Jared Bucks. And by the way, guys, when you're starting out to code, like I want to show you, I talked briefly about like the stuff on John Smilga's podcast. It's every Monday at Coding Addict channel, 8 p.m. Central Time. No, I'm in Central Time. He's in Pacific Time, 8 p.m. Pacific Time. But let me show you, like, so regardless where you are on the journey, like to kind of move the needle forward and putting the intention out there, right? Putting an intention out there, go find a theme. I found this Bootstrap made. You could literally get the theme here for free. You see, this looks exactly like my portfolio site. I paid 20 bucks for it because I didn't want this, you know, on the bottom of my screen. But I just bought a template and I kind of just used it as your, like, you know how people have business cards? I use this as my business card. So people could find me through here. And you might not have all the experience. You might not have all the projects yet, but at least create a home for that place to live. So I'm going to show you here. I have my basic information. Please don't call me. This is my real information. I share this with you guys because I want to show you I'm a real person. I'm not hiding anything. I'm not trying to trick you into anything. So I teach you everything that I struggle with and learn. This is like the skills that I do. I got to change this. I don't no longer use C#, but at least all this first initial stuff is complete. I'm going to change this to Node because that's what I've been using lately. If you have a resume, you know, you could place your resume here. If you're not sure, I tried to describe on John's stream yesterday how to structure your resume where you're writing exactly the same thing, but you're not referring to a job if you're unemployed or never had a job before, but this is how you talk about your project. So to use our project as an example, for instance, that we completed today, is it still open? Like this project that we completed here, and if I was writing about this project, I would say on my resume, I would say from whatever today's date is to whatever day I was done, I don't remember, I would put, you know, dev hunt, you know, website, and then I would say converted mockup to semantic HTML, utilized Apollo client to write use query and mutation to fetch data, you know, and I would basically talk about my project the same way I would talk about my job, even though it's not my job, because you're still writing code. It's still the same thing you guys doing. And so set up a basic website like this. You could have a form where people could reach you. I have this form disabled for now because I don't want, you know, I closed it. That's like bare minimum. And if you don't have, notice I specifically did not add a portfolio section here because I'm assuming, let's say you're starting out and you don't have a portfolio site yet. When you create your first portfolio project, you could add it here, you know, and you could link to it. By the way, the whole concept for Dev Hunt, as I build it out, is to have you guys be users and have a quick way for you guys to chat with each other about your portfolio. So like imagine you're going to be a user and you'll be like, oh, Paul did this CSS and JavaScript project. Let me check out his live demo. Oh, that looks kind of cool. You know, this is what he did. And then you could be like, you know, log in and add a comment. So that's the whole point why I'm building that Dev Hunt, is because I want to create a place for all of you guys to share stuff. But let me come back to this website here. So you need to create like what I call like your resume or business card website. Very easy to do. And then two other things that you guys have to get started with right now. If you don't have this, this is free on Bootstrap made, right? Set it up. Set up a website with your name. And two other things you need to do. You need to make sure you guys set up a LinkedIn account. You got to do this right away. Don't wait to learn to code. You need to set this up because this is going to take time to develop. And so you could set up your LinkedIn profile. And if you need help with LinkedIn, if you need help with all this, like we could cover that on our one-on-ones as well. Make sure you guys have a LinkedIn profile. And then the last thing you want to do right away, guys, don't wait. Don't wait. You want to set up your GitHub, right? You need to have your GitHub. And by the way, I started coding like a long time ago, and I just want to talk about this idea of making sure that you put in effort. And GitHub, even if you write bad code, still committed to GitHub because you want to have history of your commitment. So if you look at 2013, when I tried to learn to code, I literally wasted 2013, 2014, 2015, I did nothing. 2016, I did nothing. 2017, did few things. I wasted literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. I could have been at a job way earlier. And so 2018, I did more. Like I really started, look, I need to take coding seriously. 2008, 19, I was like, man, I got to do this. 2020, this is at this point in January, I got my job, but I thought I was going to get fired. So I kept coding at home, kept doing the work. But then I kept my job, smooth sailing. By the time I got here, I'm like, man, my job, I gotta move on. So I started coding again, and then now I'm like coding all the time anyway. So you need to have GitHub. And I'm not saying that employers are gonna go and check every commit you make. They are gonna look and see like, oh, does his GitHub look like this? Because good luck convincing someone you're a developer if your GitHub looks like this. You want it to look, you know, you want it to have some history, right? You want your GitHub to look like this, that when people come in, they're like, oh, he's actually coding, he's actually doing what he needs to do. So that's perfectly fine. So those three things you want to have. You want to have your site that I showed you guys. Let me go back to my site here. Too far. You want to have your like business card website. Put that intention out there. You are a, you know, developer. Let me refresh this. My internet is slow. Number two, you want to make sure that you set up a LinkedIn. And number three, you want to make sure that you have GitHub. Those are the three things that you want. So I just wanted to kind of show that. And then I'll also show you one thing that you could do to help you guys constantly improve on building stuff rather than just spending time on tutorials. So all my, like on my website that I just showed you, a lot of those are all my dev jobs. But let me show you my real resume. So all of these are software developer internships and jobs they have. But let me show you my complete resume. So some people say don't put your technical jobs. Some people say put your technical jobs. So let me showcase with you guys my resume. And by the way, like, my first resume was garbage and I wasn't getting any callbacks, and I'm going to share that with you too, my garbage resume first. And the funny thing, the garbage resume, I didn't know it was garbage. I just thought that people didn't like me, so they never called me back. But the garbage resume, believe it or not, has the same information that my regular resume does, but the difference why I didn't get any callbacks because of the formatting. So let me show you that first, and then I'll also look at the chats here with you guys. You know, I want to make sure that I talk to you. So here's my garbage resume. It's not garbage because the information is garbage. The garbage is that it's not formatted in a way that people even going to give it a light and day to read it. So this used to be my original resume. Has the same experience. The experience is the same. This resume got me 0 callbacks, right? So here's my actual resume that I use now. By the way, you could see it's easy to read, and it's very easy to find the tech that I use. And talk about putting my non-development jobs. So I put my all like non-development jobs here because I wanted to show that I have work history, because people want to see that you have work history because they want to see that you at least could keep a job. So it's important. But if you have a lot of coding experience, then you could like omit some of this stuff, but I kept it. So I had my martial arts school from 2006 to 2015. I sold insurance from 2015 to 2016. Then I worked at another martial arts school as a manager. Then I got my internship at Fluid Logic, worked there. Then I got a front-end development job doing WordPress stuff. Then I got my job at VersaSuite, and then this is the current job I'm working. And notice how you don't, when you write your resume, you actually write about the actual things you did. So wrote maintainable and reusable code using ES6, implemented React Router for navigation and fetching dynamic patient data based on URL parameters and hospital HR. So you literally have to do the things that you actually did and wrote. Because if you look at my resume here, responsible for develop front-end UI logic medical application based on VersaSuite Windows Desktop, this means nothing to them. They want to actually know the concrete things that you did. And this is why this resume sucks and this one doesn't. So anyway, back to you guys. And if you like these streams, like smash the like button and come back again, because it's so funny. At the end of the streams, I always get most viewers. I'm assuming maybe I should start the stream at 8 instead of 7, but we'll talk about it later. So if you guys keep asking questions and keep chatting away, I will definitely hang on and talk to you guys. And if you like what I do here, smash the like button Because if I had a smash button for you guys, smash like button for you guys, I'll smash it too, because you guys are awesome. So let's see here. Blah, blah, blah. So we talked about should non-dev jobs go on your resume. Yes, especially if you don't have any tech experience, because they do want to see that you're at least responsible enough to have had employment. Unless you're like 18 out of high school and you never had a job, well, whatever. Alex says, I put everything on my GitHub, even Code Wars, lead code, so I can always have something to go back to in case need to remind. Yeah, that's 100% true. Not only does it look good on your GitHub, but also I use my GitHub code that I wrote before as notes. That's literally my notes. That's actually a great point. I would have forgot to mention that if Alex did not say that, because that's exactly what I also do, and you should too. You know, JR Bug says smart, must be talking about somebody else, because I'm not that smart, guys. Yeah, like, I mean, there's certain overlapping things. Like I always tell people, there's no cookie cutter approach, but there's some overlapping themes that people have to do to be able to get the job. And if you're not getting a job, it's probably because you're not doing something. And it's hard, by the way, don't get me wrong. Like I should have had a job by 37, or 36, but it took me until 39. Nice, Alex. And if you ever want to jump on live stream and talk about your process and your portfolio, I'm always open to have guests. It would be like, it's always awesome. Fire emojis. Yeah, 100%. This should be a bot. I got to figure out how to hack. I'm going to learn some Python, because I know you could do data scraping with JavaScript, but I got to write some script with Python, just because that's what all the hackers do. They use Python, and create a bot that will spoof all the users and smash my like button. I'm just kidding. I would never do that, because I need to get real people. And I also know you guys are real people, because only real people have LinkedIn. I just connected with Alex on LinkedIn. By the way, you guys, more than welcome. Hit me up on LinkedIn. Connect with me, because the bigger you grow your network, the more people you could chat with. Because a lot, like, look, if I lose my job and Alex is employed, I'm gonna hit him up and be like, Alex, listen, you work at this company, come on, hook me up. Here's my resume. You know I do good, you know. And so that's the whole point. Like, build connections, grow your network. And by the way, I'm gonna be here until God allows me. As long as I'm alive, I'm gonna continue doing this YouTube thing, because I really enjoy teaching. I love talking. I love helping people. And so always feel free to ask me whatever questions, whatever topics, whatever things you're struggling. I heard you mention earlier not to push to master. Is that general rule, including personal side project? Yeah, 100%. Because if you push something to master that's broken, and I kind of use that example, except I didn't push it to master, that would have broken my deployed application, and that would be bad. If you have users that are paying you money and you break your application, like, think of Facebook going down, how many $1 billion did they lose? So you always want to make sure that you figure out a system which allows you to develop code in a silo and test it to make sure that everything works before you push it to master branch. And the easiest way for us right now, especially when we're learning, is just get this process. Look, if I have a master branch, if I want to build a feature like we did comments today, I'm going to create a separate branch, do all the changes in a separate branch. So if I mess up, it's fine. Then I'm gonna push that branch to GitHub. I'm gonna do a pull request. I'm gonna review all the code, and once I'm satisfied, once I know that things like working great, then I'm gonna push it to master. And you saw me deploy those changes to master after we tested, after we did everything, and my master branch didn't work because we didn't break because we followed the best practice in terms of how to keep ourselves from messing stuff up. Andreas, good morning from Estonia. Good to see you, my man. And by the way, like, if you ever catch these streams late, they're always going to be for you guys to rewatch. Like, some people like, oh, but they're long, they're 2 hours. So like, I always, like, when I go for a walk, when I go jogging, I'll put the streams on 2 times the speed, and you could get it done whenever you're doing stuff, or when you're coding. Like, you know, they're always there for you guys to rewatch. Let me know, guys. This is open chat right now. We did what we had to do, so this is ask me questions. Let's talk about you guys. And by the way, if you're joining late, and you missed a lot, don't worry about it. You could always rewatch, but I had an announcement to make where I'm starting to do coaching, and I'm doing free one-on-ones to anybody who's able to schedule them via that link that I posted. So they're free right now, because what I want to do is I want to practice my teaching methodology that I wish I had when I was learning to code, and I want to make sure that I get some feedback from you guys to let me know, oh, this is really good, this is helpful, or tell me, oh, maybe this is like, I didn't like when you did this. So I want to make sure that I iron out all the kinks out of my system that I wish I had when I was learning. So if you want to take advantage of a free one-on-one, hit that link, schedule it. There's only limited number of days, so make sure you guys sign up as early as possible if this is what you want. And if you don't want it, that's fine too. So at least you don't miss out. There's plenty of time slots. And again, I'm only doing the free ones for like another 25 days, and then afterwards I'm going to start doing some, making the money. If the value is good, then, that's what I got to do. And Tech Rally, I appreciate it. Don't burn yourself out with one-on-ones. They add up. Yeah, 100%. I have a limit that I set of how many I'm going to do. So I'm definitely very mindful of that. Yeah, and JR Bugs, I totally appreciate it. And by the way, people could also ask questions, but also ask your questions too. Like, people will ask questions then they feel comfortable. So if you have 1,000 questions, it might be the same questions they wanted to ask. Just might feel a little bit shy about it. Don't be shy, guys. Look, it's fine. It's fine. Look, I set the mood for questions. We have the candle. I have my coffee. And we're going to do it. And so, yeah, a lot of great questions. So don't be shy. I forgot what I was talking about. I think I was talking how awesome you guys are and how this channel would not exist because of you guys. So I really appreciate you guys. You guys are the best. So I appreciate these lives. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you guys so much. And where's that question? JB Payne asks, in any opinion on being hired as a freelancer versus a company? So here's my look on freelancing. If you're not getting hired because nobody's hiring you because you don't have the experience yet, you could start a freelancing company. Even though you don't get any clients, you could just create templates and list them on like ThemeForest, and then put that as your experience. Even don't list them, just put that as your experience freelancing. And this is more to grow experience so you could later get a job. So you might not make any money doing it this way. But here's the thing about freelancing. This is like, if you legitimately want to freelance, this is very important. I've done freelancing before, and the one thing I could say, it's hard. Number one, you have to be good at development because you can't mess stuff up for people. So you have to have a service that you provide. If it's WordPress, it's WordPress. If it's building, React, applications, building static sites, you have to have that service, and you have to 100% know inside yourself that you could deliver. Because when you start freelancing and you get a bunch of bad reviews because you did bad service, it's going to end your business before you even start. So number one, you actually have to have the skill. It's like you can't do freelancing if you don't have the skill. Number two is you need to be good at sales. You need to be good at managing money. You have to be good talking on the phone. You have to be good at pricing jobs. You have to be not afraid of making cold calls, trying to get customers. If you can't do all those things, freelancing is going to be impossible or difficult. And thirdly, the way people get into freelancing is they learn a skill, then they work at a job to improve their skill and build their experience, and then they go freelancing. It's not they go freelancing first. And you guys could try freelancing on your own. I'm not stopping you. And if you succeed, God bless you. But a lot of people that I know that started freelancing before meeting those three things, they usually don't make enough money to support themselves and eventually quit. And then they're like, man, I just need to get a normal job. So that's the view on freelancing. The thing that I would say, let's say not freelancing, you could go for contract roles, which is kind of like freelancing, except you don't have to worry about like all that other stuff I mentioned, because you're going to have a boss that's going to assign tasks for you, and you're just going to do what the boss says. But for me, I stopped doing freelancing because it was really hard to consistently make good money. And if you could make good money freelancing, then more power to you. And but it's a lot of work. In some cases, it's much easier to get a job. Like, think of it this way. Like, imagine you're a developer who makes 150K or, a year. How much work do you have to do as a freelancer to make that much? And how much hours you have to work? Sometimes it's just easier to work your 40 hours a week, get your big paycheck from a company and not worry about it. So Serge, yes, good question. Paul, have you tried implementing custom policies Strapi for GraphQL? Are you going to do this in the current project? Yes, I am going to try it. Here's the thing though, it's not easy like as it is if you just do like the REST API. So Strapi allows you to use REST API, and then you could also use GraphQL API. So yes, you could do policies, but like you have to create your own resolvers and you have to write that logic yourself. And there's like a pain in the butt workaround way. So yes, you can do it. It's a pain in the butt, which sucks because the REST API application for policies is super straightforward and easy. So I am improving my understanding on the topic. And I'm implementing it at work. And once I get it to where like I understand how to do it without struggling too much, I'll definitely talk about it. So that's in some future for sure. But in terms of like securing your code, by the way, you could also, instead of writing policies and using their policy system, you could just write the logic inside the controller and do all those tests, except it's like kind of not hacky, but like you're handling all that logic in the controller instead of using policies and that called their I forgot what the functions they have, services. And so, but you could like do quick and dirty and do the security that in the controller itself. But we are going to talk about policies for sure. What is your opinion on first dev job being remote? I think it makes more sense to go to local for the first job, but remote has good benefits too. Yeah, like because of the pandemic, I think it's more accustomed now to have remote jobs. And so you might be able to get your first job as a remote. When I first started, going remote for me was not an option because they expected you as a junior developer show up in the office. The benefit of showing up in the office, it's very easy to ask developers within you to help you, and they're more inclined to help you because they're right there. Versus working remote, a lot of times it's harder to connect with people, and it's harder to get them to help you and answer questions, which is weird because you would think since everybody's at home, everybody's connected. But it's different if you ask someone in person to help than it is like online, because everybody's busy. They're always doing their own thing. But yeah, if you could get the remote job from the get-go though, from the beginning, I think that's awesome. Remote is where it's at. I definitely say remote is more freedom and you don't have to drive. But if you're starting out, if I were to do it all over again, I would still work my first job in the office because I would like to like go in, I'd like to sit down, I like to code, I like to see other programmers code. And if I get stuck, I want to be able to like walk over to their like cubicle and be like, hey, I got this issue, have the chit chat and stuff like that. So that's good. Yeah, 100%. Like that's what I did. Like, you beggars can't be chooser. And until you get your first job, you kind of have to take whatever, like, and apply to wherever you can. And I told you a story how my first job, and because I was literally like, I burned through all my savings that I had a year of savings, but I traveled to visit my fiance. Then when I came back, because of COVID, I couldn't get a normal job, and because I left my job all like normal, I didn't have any unemployment. So like when I got my developer jobs, I literally settled for $13.75 an hour. I don't recommend you guys do that unless you have no other choice. But yeah, man, you guys are awesome. Any other questions? Because if you guys don't have any questions, because if you're at 2 hours and 13 minutes, we could call it a night, because at the end of the day, there's always next week. There's always next week. There's always the next day. So on my channel, I do live streams on Tuesday, 7 p.m. Central Time, which is about coding, building our application. If you missed what we talked about, I think it was a good stream. You can always check it out watching on 2-speed. On Saturdays, I do more open format where I just talk about tech development topics and questions that you guys might have. Not too much detailed coding or building stuff. And then also I have been, I don't know what happened, but for some reason, John Smilga thinks I'm cool, and so he invited me to be the second voice on his podcast, or YouTube Live that he started every Monday at 8 p.m. Pacific time, which I suggest you guys definitely check it out. So yeah, guys, let me know if you have any other burning questions, or otherwise we're gonna call it a night. Going once, going twice, going thrice. Thrice is a number for sure. Anyway, with that being said, man, thank you so much. By the way, thank you for smashing the like button. I know all of you guys. I know you guys did it. I know you guys smashed the like button like it was no tomorrow. But I want to thank you guys for joining me on these streams, showing your love, showing your support, because it goes both ways. I'm not motivated because like I'm a motivated guy. I'm a pretty lazy guy. But knowing that you guys come here to give your time, to listen, to say what I have to say, and to you striving in your life to make the change, to get hired, to do all those things, it motivates me, because sometimes I get lazy, sometimes I don't do stuff, and it's good for me to be part of the community. That every time I chat with you guys, I get so motivated. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna come back next stream, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna work harder at developing coding, improving my skill, because this help goes both ways. So just like you guys say thank you to me because you guys get a lot of value from what I'm doing, I get the same value from you guys because I really appreciate the love and the support. So anyway, then, you know, why not end it on this note? Thank you, all of you guys. Tammy, man, stuck around from very beginning. You made it. 2-hour stream. All of you guys, JR Bugs, Serge, great to see you, man. JB Payne, Tech Rally, always awesome. Andreas, Alex, so many guys, man. Everybody kind of came in, chilled. Thank you, everybody who added comments, and those of you guys who did not comment, don't worry about it. I still feel the love from you guys. Sharma was here, man. So many people. Jermaine was here, man. Thank you. Program with Saibinir were here. Eli was here. Brian was checking us out, man. All of you guys, and the list goes on, goes on. Andrew Ladd was here. Fantastic, man. I almost swore because I'm so excited how awesome you guys are. Anyway, thank you guys so much. With that being said, I'll see you guys next stream. Thank you for the love. Thank you for the support. And I saw like Horace, but that he was here too. He gave us a comment before. But thank you guys. I appreciate you. Love you guys. And remember, anytime you guys need something, all you have to do is just ask me. And with that being said, I hope you have the great rest of the week. Hope you achieve everything you guys plan to achieve this week. And I'll see you guys later. Good night. And as always, I am taking the elevator down slowly. I have an elevator, guys. You didn't know? I live downstairs, so I have an elevator that takes me down to my office downstairs in my tiny. I think I'm stuck. All right, guys. With that being said, I'll see you guys later. I'd be fine if someone tuned in right now. This is all they saw. This is what they saw in the live stream. Just this. Some guy like this. Hey guys, what's up? Best stream ever. This is gonna freak people out. I'm just gonna hang out and have until someone new jumps in, so they get freaked out. Anyway, enough horsing around, guys. Oh, Q exactly came in when I was exiting and doing the most obnoxious exit. I was gonna do live stream. Q, I miss you, my man. Where have you been? Where have you been, Q? Oh, let me back up here. I was doing a very dramatic exit where I was taking the elevator down. But man, Q, you gotta miss you, bro. Miss your comments, miss you chatting, but good to see you. Anyway, this was the end of the live stream. We hit 2 hours and 17 minutes. I love you all. I'll see you guys later. Bye, guys. Q, I love you, man. Good. Thank you for stopping by. I know it's at the end of the stream, but thank you for jumping in and saying hello. And we'll talk more again. Peace out, guys. Peace out. Great weekend.